take it too far. Now I dwell in the sand like a
Yeah. Hey, good morning and welcome to the Crypto Mining Show, your one-stop shop for all cryptocurrency news from the perspective of a cryptocurrency miner. I go by Blind Run on the internet and Matthew in real life. And today we're going to be talking about craziness within the mining world. Of course, EIP37 for Ergo went through this morning. And I think that's the biggest news for the GPU miners right now. But we also have some pretty major news for mining overall, especially as it pertains to Bitcoin. And that is basically that we have money funneling through from Russia to Kazakhstan to basically fund crypto miners. Now, if you guys aren't aware, quite some time ago, and this is very odd behavior, quite some time ago, of course, the primary push for mining went from China to Kazakhstan, and then there were a bunch of power issues. So we're going to talk about this. I think from an energy perspective, it's extremely important, right? Environmental perspective, extremely important. Basically, this affects everything. And to have this kind of move from a large nation on basically Bitcoin as a currency and as it relates to the greater kind of global, I suppose the global economy as a whole, I think that it's extremely important. So I'm very excited to take a look at this. I know we kind of talked about it. I didn't really expect it to happen this fast. Things are just moving along very, very, very quickly these days, as far as from, idea to inception. Obviously with Fed now too, coming out just in 2023, we're already looking stateside at being extremely close to a CBDC, which I would have never expected either. This stuff is just wild. That being said, not as wild as Kim Kardashian's Ethereum Max promotions and the SEC charges that are ensuing now. And we had some downtime for crypto exchange Coinbase. We're going to talk about the technical problem and review that. And we have full pricing for the Intel Arc series, which releases on October 12th, as well as a new miner release. We'll get into all of it and more right after a word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is BT Miners. Purchasing mining equipment online can be dangerous. With all of the fake storefronts and scams, it can be hard to find a reliable source. That's why when BT Miners reached out for a channel sponsorship, I started by verifying that ordering and delivery went smoothly with the purchase of my own. If you are looking to purchase ASICs hardware from Bitcoin to Dogecoin miners, they are available for purchase on bt-miners.com. BT Miners is a trusted source by both ASICMinerValue.com and CryptoMiner.com. Follow the affiliate link in the description and tell them SOT sent you to support the channel. I bet you all were expecting a different sponsor, weren't you? We are going to be talking about that later on because some things have changed. Hopefully some stuff remains the same, like my income. Hey, but it probably won't, just like all of our incomes. Hey, welcome to a global recession that has been redefined as not a recession, according to Wikipedia and the United States government. So, jokes aside, we'll get into it. This week, I am going to be out at the mining conference at the Kalahari Resort in Round Rock, Texas. So if you're interested in hanging out and you are in the area, let me know. I will be quite busy. I will be emceeing their live stream on Friday, so make sure you stay tuned for that. I'll be posting all the relevant links on like sonofatech.locals.com and my Twitter at sonofatech in case you want to watch. You know, it's a Bitcoin Maxi conference, best that I can tell, so it should be extremely fun to go out there, meet some people. I'm looking for cheap power. You know what I mean? And put myself out there, say, hey, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out here, ready to mingle. Not single and ready to mingle. What do you call it? Need cheap power, ready to mingle. If you want to hang out and hook me up with some of that sweet flare gas, let me know. Other than that, we will be doing some interviews. I have 3 interviews already lined up, so they'll be coming to the channel. I'm still looking for official sponsorships for, of course, all of the content that I'll be doing while we're out there. So if you want to help out with that, hopefully we'll also be getting, of course, all of the, all of the clicks as well, because that's what we're looking for. So before we get into it, make sure you do hit that like button as well and share the stream out if you find it useful and entertaining, etc. First things first, we have the G Miner release, which was 7 hours ago. And they decreased power consumption on Autolicos 2 and the Ergo algorithm. So obviously good news, because we had the EIP37 launch this morning, or release this morning, hard fork this morning. And we have basically G Miner coming out with an improvement for Ergo, or the Autolicos 2 algorithm. So decreasing the power consumption on that is awesome. I don't know how that compares, of course, to other miners in their current state, and if there's anything actually super relevant as far as how much the power consumption is decreased on G Miner, but it's worth maybe taking a look at with, of course, the difficulty decrease that just happened. So that's G Miner. I have no other miner releases today, and the news was actually pretty weak, I think, over the weekend, which was fine because that gave me time to just hang out and play World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King. If you guys are playing, let me know. Let's take a look at the official pricing for the Intel Arc series GPUs, which I'm actually quite excited for because of the big bus and low price. This will be the lowest price for the largest bus that we have seen to date in the entire GPU industry. And it's coming on a GPU that is being built for the first time by Intel, right? So Intel does confirm its A770 GPU will be available in two variants, the 8GB and 16GB. The former will have an introductory price of $329 USD, while the latter should cost at least $349 USD. Intel confirms that $349 USD price will apply to the limited edition, which is only available in 16GB VRAM configurations. This model features a full ACM G10 GPU with 32 Xe cores and has a TDP of 225 watts. The A770 with 8GB will only be available through board partners such as ASRock or Gunair. The A750 finally gets a price too. This cut down ACM G10 GPU has 28 Xe cores and 8GB of VRAM. Intel has decided to sell this card at $289 US, which is just $30 cheaper than the A770. However, from the mining perspective, right, the interesting thing here, I think, is on the A750, you are still getting, 256-bit memory interface. Yes, it is at 16 gigabits per second instead of 17.5 gigabits per second. But when you compare that overall, that's still 512 gigabytes per second, which is faster than what's in the current RTX 3070, which is everybody's favorite mining GPU right now. And to top it off, the TBP, or the total board power, is only 225 watts, which is actually theoretically less than a total, or a TDP of 220 watts, which is what's advertised on the RTX 3070. So I'm looking forward to these from the mining perspective. I will be doing my best to get my hands on them as quickly as possible to test on this channel. So if it's something you're interested in, make sure that you have that sub and notification bell. Click down below. And the pricing is, like I said, that is the cheapest GPU that we've ever seen with a 256-bit bus. So I'm pretty excited about it with GDDR6, of course. So that being said, we got Kim Kardashian. Speaking of big buses, we got Kim Kardashian for promoting Ethereum Max. Kardashian has agreed to pay $1.26 million in penalties. Holy moly. The Securities and Exchange Commission has charged TV star Kim Kardashian with unlawfully touting Ethereum Max without disclosing the payment she received, according to an SEC press release. The celebrity has agreed to settle the charges, paying $1.26 million in penalties, disgorgement, and interest. And of course, the only reason we really brought this up is because I wanted to segue from big buses on Intel Arc GPUs to, this particular article. That's the only reason we had it in here. Anyways, let's get into real topics surrounding cryptocurrency. The crypto exchange Coinbase fixes technical problem that temporarily halted payments and withdrawals from U.S. bank accounts. The exchange says the issue was identified and a solution is implemented. Coinbase has fixed a technical problem that caused it to temporarily halt payments and withdrawals involving U.S. bank accounts. The crypto exchange said on Sunday at 12:41 p.m. New York time that the incident has been resolved according to its system status page. A few hours earlier, the company had said that for unspecified technical reasons, quote, "We are currently unable to take payments or make withdrawals involving U.S. bank accounts. Our team is aware of the issue and is working on getting everything back to normal as soon as possible. You may use a debit card or PayPal to account to make direct buys on your account should you wish." Obviously, PayPal has been under its own scrutiny lately with, basically financial freedom and sovereignty, individual sovereignty as far as that is concerned with the people that they're blocking, etc. So not the perfect solution, right? Especially as it pertains to crypto. The issue was not the only problem in the broader crypto ecosystem this weekend. Solana suffered what is called a major outage, one that lasted more than 6 hours according to its website. And if you guys aren't aware, proof of stake is just alive and healthy, right? Solana was down for quite some time. It is back up though. I don't know that we have a rundown on what exactly happened yet, so I was kind of waiting on that before we report on it. Hopefully we get some more information on it tomorrow. But before we get into the main topic today, I do like, basically posting memes. I don't know if this is a meme. This is a fun fact. I don't think it's true. But we did have Wrath of the Lich King launch last week. World of Warcraft's kind of in everybody's eyes. And so Watcher Guru said, fun fact, Vitalik Buterin created Ethereum after Blizzard nerfed his favorite World of Warcraft character. So my question is, which character was that? And what part of it did they nerf? You guys let me know in the comment section below or in the live chat. Thought it was pretty fun. So, next step, we are going to talk about the big daddy for today. Of course, other than Ergo, which we will get into because at the end of the show. But we gotta talk about global macroeconomics. We got to talk about Bitcoin and what it is providing for countries that have been sanctioned, for the individuals in those countries, how this is going to impact, basically the West's viewpoint on cryptocurrency. It may end, that meme that's like, oh, we're the bad guys, aren't we? I think when it comes to cryptocurrency, it could be that we shift into a position where we are the bad guys, right? And this could be due to regulation. This could be due to the forcing of sanctions that greatly hinder blockchain and centralize it. This could come down to essentially a very odd position where, because of sanctions on countries like Russia from the U.S. and other Western countries and everything that's going on with NATO, you could end up in a position where cryptocurrency is demonized from that perspective and basically regulated to all heck, or even potentially completely made illegal. Now, with the amount of infrastructure that's been put into Bitcoin here recently within the United States, I wouldn't think that would immediately go that path, but definitely within the UK, it could start going there quite a bit quicker, especially with this tying into essentially energy support and Bitcoin, right? So what we have here, man, this is so wild. Russia will provide electricity to Kazakhstan for Bitcoin mining. This is just absolutely wild. In Russia, the government has begun preparations to provide electricity to Kazakhstan for cryptocurrency mining. Local newspaper RBC reports that the governments of the two countries have agreed to amend the existing agreement on measures to ensure parallel operation of two energy systems. Specifically, it reports that the Russian government has ordered appropriate amendments to this agreement to enable the supply of electricity to crypto miners. Kazakhstan is significantly smaller than Russia, yet according to the latest available data, more than 3 times the Bitcoin hash rate of its huge neighbor would be located there. Moreover, interestingly, in recent days, Bitcoin mining hash rate has hit a new all-time high globally, exceeding 270 exahash a second for the first time in history. The record dates back to yesterday, while today the hash rate is reported to be down below 260 exahash a second. Of these, more than 13% globally belong to miners operating in Kazakhstan. As a matter of fact, when China banned mining last year, completely zeroing its hash rate, many Chinese miners moved to the neighboring Kazakhstan. The country is rich in fossil hydrocarbons, so electricity generation has very low costs. For this reason, miners fleeing China have found fertile ground. Added to this is a degree of benevolence on the part of the country's authorities towards Bitcoin miners, which also explains why they have not actually opposed the increase in electricity consumption due to this mass displacement. Now, that is not completely true. Remember, they had additional tax that they added onto it. I believe it went up by like 5%. Let me know, or not 5%. I believe it went up to 5 cents a kilowatt hour. Unless I'm mixing something up, I'll have to go look at that again. And I thought that they were specifically taxing and you had to get a license in Kazakhstan. I don't think they were completely friendly, recall, because they were having rolling blackouts due to the high demand. So, to be fair, Russia has also seen its hash rate grow over the past few years, but it has shrunk globally from about 5% to 4% within 3 years. However, this data is going back to January, which is before the war in Ukraine began and international sanctions were triggered. Curiously, as of September 2021, China's hash rate is back to being the second largest in the world at more than 20%. Of course, that is probably primarily due to the fact that none of it ever moved in the first place, and there were definitely things like VPNs being utilized in the underground for China, and then they just gave up completely on even hiding their IPs and so on. Where was that getting sent through? Maybe through the US, maybe through Kazakhstan partially, maybe through Iran, I believe was one that had a steep increase in hash rate. The problem, of course, with tracking all of this is that you can only really track the IPs of essentially primarily where the actual mining pools are located. And depending on how that functions too, you could get down to the miner, but if they're running a VPN, like, it really depends on essentially who is doing the research. But no matter what, whether you read the pool or whether you read the actual miners that are connecting to the pool, either way, you're going to have a hard time actually determining the origination of the hash rate without a significant amount of due diligence that I don't think is really something that is worth it at the end of the day to figure out where it's coming from. But we do know that a lot of hash rate did move to Kazakhstan primarily because we know that they had rolling blackouts and issues with actually providing the power, right? So, and we do know that China was the largest by a huge margin. So having them back over 20% is not surprising, right? That would mean that about 30% of the hash rate in China prior to the ban remained in China, with, you know, essentially the remaining 60% of that moving to other locations, primarily the US, of course. And then following that up would be like Iran and Kazakhstan, etc. So, it is possible that the increase in global hash rate triggered since mid-August with the price of Bitcoin following may also be due in part to these dynamics, in addition to those related to the significant increase in machine efficiency. The latter in particular allows for greater hash rates with the same amount of electricity consumed or even less. Miners have every interest in increasing their hash rate because mining is a competition in which those with higher hash rates win more. But they also have an interest in not increasing costs or even reducing them. While China and Russia have long had a contentious relationship with cryptocurrencies, it seems that mining is not frowned upon at all in Kazakhstan. Still, once again, I'm not so sure this is true. And this is one of those things. I always say this, and I'm going to say it again. You know, don't confuse me with facts. I'm trying to think here. If I think back, I'm pretty sure Kazakhstan did have some issues with mining, right? So making a blatant statement, you know, in cryptonomist or whatever, that Kazakhstan didn't frown upon it is, I'm pretty sure, verifiably false. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and verify this because this is actually going to bug me a lot if they're just stating this. And so I believe Kazakhstan rolling blackouts was this summer, right? Or earlier this year. Crypto mining. Yeah. Yeah, there was literally Kazakhstan you have to get a permit, and then they were shutting down illegal miners because they were having rolling blackouts. So this article is incorrect, or all the reports about them doing rolling blackouts is incorrect. I'm not really sure. Kind of odd. So it says, however, the significant increase in energy consumption due to mining could cause shortages in the availability of electricity for other users. Okay, so maybe they do cover it here. This is probably why the country has asked for help from its huge neighbors so as to obtain any missing electricity. So they're saying, okay, I think I understand what they're trying to say here. They're trying to say essentially that it's the power limits are what's preventing it, not necessarily that the government's against the mining, right? So what they're going to do now is reach out to Russia, etc., and say, hey, can you provide some power here? And, of course, like we were talking about before, this is interesting. I do think within Russia, they'll have an excess amount of energy to sell off. There appears to be something that went down with a pipeline, that potentially was going to help supply energy for the winter months to European countries, but that will no longer be needed. That electricity could be exported for, additional revenue to other countries. Exporting to a country like Kazakhstan, where you have basically more Bitcoin miners than you have power to facilitate for them, would kind of make sense to actually monetize it. This is interesting, right? So, RBC in particular reports that Interro, i.e. Russia's sole electricity import-export operator, with the appropriate changes to the agreements between the two countries, will be able to sell electricity to Kazakhstan by entering into special contracts directly with Kazakhstan's crypto mining companies. Problems of electricity availability shortages due to crypto mining occurred in Kazakhstan in January this year, when the government was forced to shut down 200 mining companies for a period of time. Despite this, mining has not been banned, and the agreement to purchase additional electricity from Russia clearly demonstrates a desire on the part of Kazakh government to allow or to let this type of activity continue, as long as it does not create problems with the availability of electricity to citizens and other businesses. RBC also reports that Kazakhstan is actively developing the crypto sector, so much so that by the end of the year, a crypto card would be issued to be used for common payments in stores. In addition, a bill was submitted last week to regulate crypto mining in the country, although it has not yet been approved. It is abundantly clear not only that Kazakhstan wants to continue to allow such activities to take place within its borders, but also wants to encourage their development in a way that is economically and socially sustainable. Such attitudes towards crypto mining in Russia, for example, is absent, although steps have been taken towards practical use of cryptocurrencies. In Kazakhstan in particular, it appears that the government sees crypto mining as an attractive activity because of its wealth it produces, and would like to encourage that this wealth produced in Kazakhstan be spent within the country's borders. It is not the only country that considers the wealth produced by locally by crypto mining to be attractive, except not my town in Texas, because apparently they were like, screw you, up your power rates. Just as it is also not the only one that had problems with power shortages due to a high consumption of this activity. However, it is one of the few that has decided to take matters into its own hands and look for solutions that are not like the Chinese solution of banning it. Besides, the ban in China is only notional, as after an initial moment when all the miners seemed to have complied and resigned, it only took a very few months for the resignation to vanish like snow in the sun. The Chinese case is emblematic because the Chinese government is still an authoritarian regime, usually able to impose its decisions on its citizens. Whereas with regard to crypto mining, it was only able to unleash a passing terror that simply vanished within a few months. And that is very interesting. That is a kind of one of those things that if you're into crypto and you want to talk about individual sovereignty, financial freedom, etc., you can point to an authoritarian regime that basically was unable or incapable to actually regulate the mining of Bitcoin and say, look here, this is what it does, right? This is what it's here for. It is doing its job. Is it doing it as fast as people want it to? Not necessarily, but it does appear to be doing it faster than anything else could really necessarily do what it's doing, in my humble opinion, especially if we look at crypto as a whole, the stablecoin situations in things like Argentina, etc. Crypto is enabling individuals to basically find some sort of financial freedom and autonomy that previously was unavailable to them, right? That's what we are finding with crypto now as it moves further and further along. So the situation is now not back to the way it was before, but apparently in some parts of China, the authorities are turning a blind eye to mining, probably because they are interested in some way in the profits it produces. After all, the relationship between authorities and cryptocurrencies in Russia also follows a similar trend. In fact, as time goes on, they are increasingly tolerated, if not exploited, to try to circumvent international sanctions. From this point of view, Kazakhstan has simply shown more realism and more long-term vision, although it has not actually solved the problem of high energy consumption yet, since the agreement made with Russia's Inter-RAO, or RAO, has only partly shifted into the neighboring country. Now, I think this does spell out problems for essentially innovation within the Western countries. I think economic success within Western countries too. I do believe in cryptocurrency as the future in general. And so when I look at it and the amount of wealth that it can produce for countries, you know, if you were to look at this from, you know, a potentially outdated perspective. So I think in the near future, essentially the point of cryptocurrency is also to break down the need for borders when it comes to digital payments. Obviously, like some of the big proponents of CBDCs are to basically enable cross-border payments more easily. That's what's being pushed as far as positives for FedNow, for example. In the United States, it's positive. That's what they basically for digital currencies in general. They want to have easier cross-border payments, but that's already being done by cryptocurrency without the need of a nation state run crypto. At the end of the day, I think like breaking down borders financially is obviously going to happen, but in the current status of the way the world functions, where we have basically these arbitrary borders drawn around portions of land to determine, you know, who lives where and who pays who, their taxes, etc. It's interesting to think about the competition that is laid out there, right? Russia versus the US versus China versus Saudi versus the UK, or even you could break it down even like larger, you could say imperialism versus communism versus capitalism. However you really want to look at it, we still have these like our teams or whatever. And our teams, right, are going to fall behind if they do not participate and take advantage of cryptocurrency, which is then why we go into the essentially into the theory of the Trojan horse, right? Which is like Bitcoin is the Trojan horse to the nation state and to banks, because it is so attractive and elusive that they will let it in because they want to make money off of it. But once it's let in, it will completely basically dissolve the nation state and banks, because essentially what you end up doing is giving all the citizens financial autonomy and freedom. And this is a very real path that we could take. It does, in my humble opinion, mean that you have to avoid central bank digital currencies at all costs. But this is essentially the path that is set in front of us, and we can see it start to happen here, right? Basically, authoritarian regimes that are unable to push it out. Why? Because the people that they put in authority to go shut down these mining farms, etc., are getting paid off by the mining farms, so that the actual financial incentive doesn't align for them to be able to force people to do anything. It's absolutely brilliant and fascinating to consider. What we're going to see with it here in the short term, though, is potentially it being used or leveraged in global conflict, which is a little bit more scary, right? So right now, what you have is a situation where the positives and the positives, the incentives that were previously not aligned in Russia to accept cryptocurrency as a viable solution due to sanctions from the Western world has now made basically Bitcoin more, or Russia basically more incentivized to participate within Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So now their government starts to participate, even to the point to where now they're also going to be monetizing excess energy that they have due to, of course, the reduction of the energy being pushed over to other places to basically power crypto mining farms. All of this is, look, this is going to be a time in history that is analyzed, and hindsight, we're going to be like, and we see it. Right now, it's a little murky, but it's absolutely fascinating. I don't know. I'm fascinated by it. Hopefully I track it and share that fascination with you guys, because this is crazy. Never would I have thought that essentially what you would have would be some sort of global conflict that basically was all over essentially cryptocurrency and people's use of cryptocurrency, breaking down basically communist states to actually participate within that cryptocurrency. It's just weird. It's just absolutely weird. It'll be interesting to see, what happens here in the near future, though, and we'll keep track of it. Hope you guys will stay tuned. I don't know. I can't predict it, obviously. Let's get into EIP37, though, because this is going to be a big one. If you guys aren't familiar, EIP37 was recently deployed onto the Ergo blockchain. It was a hard fork that was done this morning. Now, I was a little confused. I thought we were going through the next epoch and then we would vote. The votes would be in, and then the next epoch is when they would actually deploy the hard fork. It appears basically once the voting was done, they deployed the hard fork, and because they already had essentially the nodes up and ready to implement it, it was implemented. So what does this mean? Of course, I guess you should understand what the EIP does. We've talked about it a ton, but we'll clarify again for the uninitiated. Epoch lengths are essentially shortened to 128 blocks. So this means that essentially every 128 blocks, the difficulty will adjust. This is 87% faster than it was previously at 1,024 blocks. Now, the difficulty will be calculated over the past 8 epochs, each epoch equaling 128 blocks. So what that means essentially is that you have 1,024 blocks. It will look at the total difficulty and average it out across that time, and then it will set the new difficulty to that. However, it will not be changed by more than 50%. So for example, right now, we could look at the Ergo difficulty chart here. You could see essentially that the current difficulty is 8.31. And the actual hash rate obviously is lower than that. It's at 30 right now. Let's double check. Yeah, 30 terahash right now. So it should go down to theoretically 3 on the difficulty. But because of the 50% limitation and of course still the averaging out of the past 1,024 blocks, it'll only go down to 4.15 on the next epoch, which is essentially going to happen here pretty shortly, because what we are seeing now is only 19 blocks remaining. So, you know, if we even took the calculator out, now this calculator isn't exactly correct right now, right? So it's saying time till next epoch would be on October 3rd, which would be in 2 days, but I think that's still running over the past one. So if we actually only have 19 blocks times, let's say 256 seconds, which is the time to find a block right here, that equals 4,864. Let's divide that by 60. That's what, 81 minutes divided by 60. If my math is correct, we're looking at basically an hour and a half or so before we see the next epoch. And then that would adjust us down to 4.15. And then essentially what this means overall for miners in general is that the difficulty is going to be decreased here shortly, which means kind of profitability will go up. It's yet to be seen. There's lots of things going on within here that I'm not too certain on. This is a new implementation. It's hard to say, you know, how successful versus unsuccessful it will be. Does it remove the gamification of the difficulty adjustment fully from Ergo? No, but it does speed it up to where it may not be viable, to a point to where it may not be viable, right? If you're basically having an epoch change every like 8 hours, then no. Here's where like the question comes in. Obviously, what we saw immediately when this went through is a huge increase in hash rate, right? Now, I'm still looking at this. We'll hopefully have a report on this later. K1 pool went up 9 terahash a second. So actually, solo mining is taking up 30% of the known hash rate. A large farm has hopped onto here. This could spell out some sort of other type of issues. We're going to be monitoring it. Right now, suffice to say, what we saw was almost a 30% increase in hash rate. A little bit less than that. I want to say we were at like 23, somewhere around there. So I think we went up 7 terahash total. One big farm came online. I would assume that we start to see some hash rate start to tick up other places too. Hero miners here obviously had a recent uptick. So the question is, will that dump right back off, right? So because 30% hash rate more came on, just like we saw before with the merge, what we start to see is the block times start to exceed or start to speed up, right? So right now at 235 seconds, that would actually be about 4 minutes. So it hasn't fully caught up right now. Remember, it's supposed to balance it out to 2 minutes. But once that difficulty comes down to, which it's about double right now because this is pretty easy to calculate, right? Current difficulty would mean that we would want to be around 8 terahash. We're currently around, 80 terahash. Currently we're at 30 terahash, right? So once we go down to 4, should be around 40 terahash. So the way this balances out is really interesting. We're going to have to sit back and watch. Right now, technically, like I said, if the difficulty was adjusting in real time, you would probably see about 3.6 pH, but right now it's at 8.31. Where the next one's going to happen in an hour and a half. We're going to come down to 4. If we hit 40 terahash on the network at around the same time, then basically the Ergo blockchain should be functioning from a block time perspective as intended. So what I mean by that is if basically hash rate goes up another 10 terahash a second in the next hour and a half, right? Then we would start to see 2-minute block times on the network, and that should steady it out. Now, of course, we'll have to see how this all shakes out. Definitely want to keep an eye on this solo pool that's pushing basically an additional 7 terahash. Make sure nothing funny is going on with that. That could be rental from NiceHash. That could average us out higher. It's really going to take, I think, some monitoring before we're fully aware of what's going on. But congratulations to the Ergo team for implementing EIP37. It does look like it's doing what it was meant to do, which is obviously bringing that difficulty down quicker than it was initially going to take, right? I mean, we were expecting October 3rd for the next epoch, and now we're expecting, a couple hours. So it's doing exactly what is expected. I really hope that what we find out here is that essentially there's not a huge amount of hash rate waiting to turn right back onto it and start gamifying it, that we see essentially the hash rate start to smooth out and basically have more of a steady block time, which is really, I think, the most important thing. And I've never thought that this was a profitability thing, because a profitability thing would mean I would want to gamify it, essentially, because there was up to a potential of like 400% additional rewards as a miner with its previous implementation for about 8 hours at a time, right? I think the most important thing for Ergo here is that it smooths out the block times so that the network functions in a manner that is expected, so that projects like Ergo Pad, Ergo Dex, Auction House, etc. can be functioning properly. For example, the Auction House Ergo Pad IDO had to be delayed because of this, because the network was too unpredictable to actually perform the IDO. That's a huge impact to the chain, okay? That's a huge impact to the ecosystem. That is what's relevant. That's what I am concerned about. Can we actually get back to participating within these things like Ergo Pad, like Ergo Dex? Will all the DeFi functionality come back and start functioning properly? The NFTs start functioning properly? This is what we want to see, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking at as far as this goes. Getting that, hopefully what this does, like I said, we don't see some sort of huge spike ups and back and forths with large miners and a bunch of hash rate. This solo pool worries me, but hopefully we'll be okay. And then we're not going to see that start to happen. And what we get at the end of the day is, thanks to the EIP37, we start to see, like I said, 2-minute block times steady across the board. And we can start getting back to work on DeFi and NFTs, all that sort of stuff, right? The IDOs that are coming out, I'm really excited about Padilla from Ergo Pad, which we talked about with Marty on our interview with him. So if you want to check that out, that's a really cool project. All of these projects that I want to see come to fruition on Ergo, first things first that has to happen is you have to get these block times back reeled in, right? That's the first thing that has to happen before we can really move forward with it. So that's pretty much it. We're going to be monitoring it throughout the week. Tomorrow we'll be doing the live stream from here, and then I'll be driving to Round Rock. So the rest of the week, Wednesday through Friday, we will be basically doing the live show from a mobile situation. So just keep that in mind. That's going to be a little bit different here. So make sure you're prepared for that. So before we get into mining profitability for the day, what I would like to do is ask you guys to hit that like button. And I don't have to play another ad at all. Like I said today, it does look like, well, bear market's hurting everybody. All right. So, we're going to see where we're at, and we'll figure out what's going on with all the sponsorships. We only have to play the one today, but check out, down below in the description, the link to BT miners, and you can use promo code SOAT when ordering over there for a discount. I'm not sure what the discount's at right now. Last I checked, it was pretty good. I think the best discount we have is over at Coastal Crypto Mining. However, I think they're a little more expensive. So compare and contrast. You can do that by going through the ordering system, utilizing the promo code, seeing if they add any taxes and fees, etc. I recommend doing that on every single website, ASIC distributor website possible, just to make sure you're getting the best deal, because they do add, some of them do add different fees on different tax rates depending on your location, geographical location, all that sort of stuff. So definitely, if you're going to buy an ASIC, do a lot of shopping around. Have you guys seen this Meow Coins now on what to mine? Let's hop into it. So mining profitability, RTX 3090, corrected ZIL hash, Kapow, ProgPow, and Firo proof of work hash rates. We got Meow Coin in first place, losing 28 cents a day after 10 cents a kilowatt hour. Going down from there, really, we got Flux at losing, actually would be in first place, losing 19 cents a day after 10 cents a kilowatt hour. Ravencoin losing 34 cents a day after 10 cents a kilowatt hour. Firo losing 30 cents a day after 10 cents a kilowatt hour. Neoxo losing 36 cents a day, after 10 cents a kilowatt hour. You guys are catching the trend here, right? At 10 cents a kilowatt hour, nothing on what to mine is currently profitable. I do have some people there asking me what I'm mining. I am mining Caspa. I'm rocking the Caspa. I'm rocking a couple other things. There's some stuff that I am testing that I don't want to really talk about yet. And then I am also I'm spec mining another coin that I have talked about over on sonofatech.locals.com. And it's a full spec mine, meaning there's no current listing for it anywhere. And the interesting thing is the block reward is actually quite low. So I'm hoping that an initial listing of it will mean with the low block reward that we do see some pretty nice listing starting prices on this particular one. But I think it will be quite some time before it's listed. You can definitely go check it out, though, like I said, on sonofatech.locals.com if you're curious on what that one is. And then the last one, I'm not posting anywhere. Just to be frank with you guys, I don't know where it's at right now. I don't even know if it's really functioning properly, so I'd rather not even talk about it at this time. But once it's ready and it looks like, I think that people can connect to it and it'll function, then we'll talk about it on Locals first. All right, so we do need to look at hash rates. And obviously the biggest one that we've already looked at is Ergo. And we've had, basically a 3.5% loss over the past 7 days. And I think when we checked on Friday, it was actually 10 cents lower than it is right now. So it's kind of up over the weekend, it looks like to me. That being said, the hash rate has skyrocketed, all of it going to K1 pool so far. Not a lot coming back onto 2 miners or hero miners, etc. This does put small home miners into an awkward position, right? Because it puts us into a position where, as a small home miner, you're probably going to be needing to look at a much larger pool to even compete. If a solo miner is basically beating out the largest mining pool, basically in operation for altcoins right now, 2 miners, it kind of means that you go to 2 miners because you need to make sure that you're actually being competitive to find those blocks. But traditionally, I would advise against that because I would say spread the hash rate out more. Now, of course, hopefully what ends up happening is that you find a block and that because your hash rate is higher on that particular one, you get paid out more. But remember, right now, block times are 4 minutes. There's not a lot going on. And if you look at basically K1 pool, they're pulling a block every 8 minutes. So they're pulling 50% of the blocks right now. Right? So every 8 minutes, K1 pool has been finding a block, which means basically that K1 pool is finding 50% of the blocks at this time, which is kind of your best bet's going to 2 miners. You could get lucky on another pool though too. My favorite pool is Get Block still. You guys know that. I think they're the most innovative in the space, but they're at 508 gigahash a second. They haven't found the block in 8 hours. I don't know. If you're actually home mining to actually make a profit, then I understand why you go to 2 miners, I suppose is what I'm saying, right? Let's keep an eye on this solo pool and see what happens. Let's check the rest of these though. Bitcoin. Bitcoin at 258 exahash a second. It is down from I think the all-time high of 270 exahash a second. Bitcoin's up 3% over the past 7 days. All the Ethereum coins, Ethereum Classic down 1.66% over the past 7 days in price. It is at 165 terahash a second. I think that's where it's going to basically settle down at here for the foreseeable future, just because obviously we can see that that's been steady over the past week. It looks like, basically Ethereum Classic is finding its sweet spot for hash rate. And that's probably just some sort of combination of low power cost with obviously highly efficient ASIC miners running on the network. And I don't think that it's viable, as we've seen from What to Mine and other calculators for GPUs at this time. But I think, it is settling in at that 165 terahash a second or so. Ethereum proof of work is up 7.56% over the past 10 days. We did see and have been seeing more support for Ethereum or ETHW on not only exchanges, but mining pools, and even Mr. Rabid Mining making a how to mine ETHW. I see you, boy. What are you doing, man? I saw it. 53 terahash a second though on ETHW, and that is down a little bit from its all-time high. Let me see if I can find that, which was at 56 terahash a second, but it's definitely up from last week by about 4 terahash a second. Plus, it looks like there's some solo mining going on to individual nodes, because the network hash rate is at 65 terahash a second, while the pool APIs are reporting 53.81 terahash a second, which tells us that people are mining to their own nodes, which makes a lot of sense because there's not a ton of hash rate on the network. So if you're a larger farm, let's say you are a 10 terahash farm, solo mining is going to make you some more money probably. Ethereum Fair is down 36% over the past 7 days, and the hash rate has basically done the same thing. It's down to 7.98 terahash a second, and that's down from almost 12 terahash a second last week. So definitely coming back down. Remember, it was showing most profitable on I believe it was MinerStat for a little bit, and I think that's why we see this. Unfortunately, too, it has a high concentration of F2 pool hash rate, which is obviously, worrisome from a 51% double spend attack. And we know for a fact that Ethereum never had to fix that like Ethereum Classic. So if you're just a straight fork of Ethereum, technically those double spend attacks are wide open and welcome still, unless they've done something on Ethereum Fair that I'm not aware of. But as far as I'm aware of, they're still just an Ethereum fork. So that's extra concerning that there is so much concentration of hash rate there, in my humble opinion. Let's go ahead and take a look at Flux. Flux is up 0.8% over the past 7 days. It's at 7.31 mega solutions a second. I really do believe it's found its sweet spot right now. I think it's going to maintain between 7 and 8 mega solutions a second until we start to see some sort of recovery in the market. And that is not a bad thing at all. Let's take a look at Ravencoin. Ravencoin is down 3.84% over the past 7 days and is sitting at 17.29 terahash a second. And then if we take a look at Neoxa, we are at 1.83 terahash a second. It's down 36% over the past 7 days. And it looks like we're going to be waiting to see how this settles out. I think we were a little bit higher last week, around 2.5 terahash a second. I don't think that Neoxa has found its sweet spot. Of course, I don't think that with Ravencoin either. The problem with the algorithm, I think the algorithms in general, it's not a problem. It just makes these hash rate charts really awkward to read, because you are bouncing between basically efficiency on the cards all the time. It does this spiky thing, right? And especially because it's a smaller coin, it's more obvious. So because it does the spiky thing, I think it's a little bit harder to determine. But overall, like, the spikes are less here. It does look like it's coming down to me. You guys let me know what you guys think as far as how that looks to you. Then let's take a look at Caspa, rocking the Caspa. Caspa is down 46%, 46.52% over the past 7 days. The hash rate is at 157 terahash a second, which is down over the past 7 days by about 50 terahash a second. Sort of, right? Yes, sort of. It'd be kind of, I think it's down overall. Now, 75 terahash or 65 terahash, somewhere around there, 68 terahash. It's like when I start doing the math and then I want to get it more and more close, I'm going to start doing the decimals. I'll stop there. 65 terahash a second is on nodes specifically. So that's a good sign as far as the distribution goes, especially considering that as far as the rest of the hash rate, a majority of it is on Woolly Pool. Now, we had been looking at Radiant as well, so we'll continue to look at that. That's down 37.85% over the past 7 days as well. We are at 29 terahash a second, and that is down as well from... I can't get it. I can't get it. It's not working for me today. 60 terahash a second. ASIC miner profitability. And miner L7 is still in first place, around 1567 a day. And then we have the iPolo G1 in second place, doing $10.80 a day on Grin. And we got the Jazzminer X4 doing about $9 a day on Ethereum Classic. Antminer D7 at $7.68 a day on Dash. And then the iPolo V1 at $6.45 a day on Ethereum. ET hash, not ETC hash, which is interesting. The KD6 at $5.74 a day, and the Gold Shell HS3 at $5.35 a day. And then scrolling down from there, if we want to take a look at the S19 Pro, it is looking very tight on the margins, still below like a couple dollars a day. Not exactly what you like to see, but yeah, that is driving the prices of them down, so that is relevant in general. This is kind of the pool that we're monitoring as far as the hash rates go on Ergo. Hey guys, let's do it. Excuse the yawn. Oh, Mondays are like... Look, here's the deal. I still do it. I don't even do the day job thing, and I still do the whole thing where Sunday I stay up like it's Saturday night playing some video game, and then I have to get up super early on Monday. And I'm like, oh, why'd I do that again? Why'd I do that again? That's not going to stop me from doing jujitsu today. We have 387 concurrent viewers. I want to thank each and every one of you. If you can thank me back by smashing that like button or hitting it or tickling it, depending on your mood today, go ahead and get her done and hit that. We're going to get into questions and answers. Remember, super chats are never required, always appreciated. First to be answered. Tagging at Son of a Tech will highlight the message orange, and I can read it off and get the answer out to you if I know it. I don't know everything, so I can't always answer everything, but I'll try to do my best. We do have a few comments here and there. Naomi says, at Son of a Tech, October 3rd is today, bro. Oh my God, you're correct. So that part is correct. As far as, I don't know why I was derping. I was thinking it was still saying it was 2 days out. So 11:34 a.m. This calculator is correct right now. Thanks for calling that out. I think it's correct right now. Yeah, if we calculate that out, we said an hour and a half. We're looking about 45 minutes left, according to this clock. I think that is correct, good sir. You know, today feels like the first for me, because today is like the day that, like, even though everything's programmed to come out of the bank account on the 1st, it comes out today. Because they took Saturday off. You know what I mean? Sometimes it comes out, some of them came out Friday, but I don't know. Anyways, a lot of it came out today. So it feels like the first to me, because my bank account's like, bye-bye. Andrew says, that sounds like I feel your brother. Gaming gets the best of you. After watching Cyberpunk Netflix series, I restarted Cyberpunk. Forgot how good the game is. There's a Netflix series now? Oh my gosh. We'll watch that on our Twitch channel later today. Or watch the preview of it or something. Got a $5 super chat from Dillsbury Flowboy. There you go. Nice name. At Son of a Tech, can a proof of work coin be designed to be nice hash proof? That's an interesting question. The best way to be nice hash proof is to develop your own, is to start by developing your own algorithm. Eventually, NiceHash can add support for that algorithm, or the miner that, or add the miner for support for that algorithm, which they've done in the past. But for example, they didn't even add Ergo until like January of this year. So Ergo was not available on NiceHash for the first couple years of its inception. Is it viable to potentially, completely stop NiceHash on a network? I don't think so. Because all NiceHash does, for a long time, it was its own miner. It had the excavator for Ethereum, and then that's all it really ever mined. But in the background, it's always had the option to basically run a piece of software that basically opens and runs individual miners. Remember, this is why there was a huge hubbub surrounding Phoenix Miner and basically surrounding Phoenix Miner, NiceHash, and basically getting the verification for Windows as an application, because NiceHash wanted to use the miner, but it would flag it as essentially a virus in Windows. So they were trying to get it, registered. Anyways, long story short, that's the reason why that whole thing blew up, is because essentially all that NiceHash is doing is running, individual miners. So can you full stop it on the coin side? I don't think so. On the miner side, potentially, but then you run into risks of basically making mining software not open source, which I think is a bigger risk than allowing NiceHash. You could potentially do something with the difficulty curve. But I don't know what that is. I'm not smart enough to know the answer, but it's a good question. Kind of makes me think about it, definitely. But I don't from my current knowledge, I don't think it's possible, right? Ted, thanks for the $5 Canadian super chat. Says, where do you get the best replacement fans? I used to use a site called GPUreplacementfan.com or something like that. But now I just take my fans off and put them in octo miners. Which, I mean, like, really isn't bad. I don't have a like an affiliate link for this or anything, but I have ordered from them and they did ship them to me. And they have a good selection. EJ says, S7 where was that where they ran in some mining operation and called them a mining gang because they had an AK? Oh boy, was that Kazakhstan? Dude, I remember the article. I don't remember off the top of my head. I can't remember where it was. I feel like that was Kazakhstan, wasn't it? They're like, and they had a gun. We raided like 30 mining farms and one of them had an AK-47. Therefore, they're a gang. That was hilarious. Mike says, at Summit Tech, haven't hit a block on a Netapool in 3 days. Pretty rough. It says they hit one 7 hours ago, Mike. Oh, but the individual in Netapool, yeah. Well, I'm afraid, my friends, as much as I would like you to go to GetBlock, I can't get anybody to go over there. And if I'm being honest and I want you guys to actually be successful, I would have to tell you to go use 2 miners right now because the solo pool has too much hash rate on it. So, sorry. You just go rent a bunch of hash rate and point it at GetBlock. Village BC says, ask something like Overwatch 2, yay or nay? Yeah, so tomorrow I'm going to try to play it a little bit. Probably at the hotel in the evening. Comes out tomorrow, right? So if you guys want to play with me, we're going to do a community game night. hotel style after I get all configured. We'll use that to test the live stream and make sure everything's functioning, and make sure that my mobile setup is working for us for the week. So that'll be over on twitch.tv/blindrun. And then I don't know, what time does it launch tomorrow? The answer is yes, but timing of the next stream of it, I don't know yet. Battlefish says, at some attack, the Ergo Foundation was paying an extra 36 ergs to miners yesterday. Yeah, they were trying to speed it up to get the epoch through so that they could deploy the hard fork so that they could get this obviously working, you know. Which was successful, by the way. I don't know how I feel about it. How do you guys feel about it? It felt kind of wrong. I don't know. That's a weird one. Because it's like, we don't control the network, but we take out money for the foundation to pay the devs. But now we're going to take the money that we pay the devs to give back to the miners so that the miners will fix the network. It felt weird. You know, I think it's hard. It comes from a good place, I think, but I think that it felt weird. Like, I'm not sure that it's... I don't know. You hit a couple solo blocks yesterday, so you like it. That's good, Babel. I'm glad you got the reward. I'm fine with it from that perspective. I just, like I said, I think it's weird that you have a dev fund that comes out that then you use to, I mean, I guess it's fine. I don't know. It honestly feels like the Federal Reserve. Print the monies. We need to fix it. I don't know. I don't know from a fundamental standpoint that I can say that it's okay. I guess is my only problem. I'm still debating how I feel about it. Because I'm not sure, like I said, that fundamentally it's okay. Beerly says, Ask Tech, would a replacement motherboard for an Antminer fix discarded shares? You mean a control board or hash board? Probably not. Because the hash board the control board is just basically communication. You would probably have to replace a hash board, right? And then depending on the Antminer, there's probably multiple hash boards. Alex B says, Ask Tech, why not check what Luke Smith did with his XMR donations showing up on stream instead of doing super chats? Super chats boost the algorithm, Alex. Mike B says, Ask Tech, hit me up and I'll play for sure. Sounds awesome, dude. Detroit says, Ask Tech, August 7th, 22. Bitcoin news, it was Kazakhstan. So it was Kazakhstan. You can mine as long as we control where and how you mine, right? Phoenix says, at Son of Tech, ever watch Silicon Valley? I did. And that's on HBO Max. Use my promo code to sign up at HBO Max, and that would be cool. Frank says, at Son of Tech, so you're not mining any Ergo? I helped them out until the last epoch, and then I turned down to save some power because my power bill is way too expensive. And I think that I will be turning on in about 30 minutes. Racco says, that's Tech, what thermal paste do you use? Arctic MX4. I like the big tube. I've been using Arctic MX4 for a long time. Price to performance is pretty darn good. And they have like a big old tube. That's the 14. Where's the big old tube? Oh, there's a 14 gram tube here. It's pretty good. 20 gram. There it is. There you go. Oh, I gotta log in. Oh, you son of a biscuit. I can't get the link right now. We'll get it later. Arctic MX4, 20 gram tube. Use the Amazon affiliate link down in the description. Battlefish says that time I think it helped those that were staying loyal and mining at a loss. See, this is the problem, right? I don't like the idea of loyal miners. Because the incentive structure for loyal miners means that you can jack shit up. I think the monetary policy can be manipulated too much. Just the longer I'm in the space, the more I have and I try to, because here's the deal. And most of the time you guys are going to catch me, I think, just kind of changing my mind on things, because I think you have to change your mind on things to grow, but also trying to be very careful in realizing that I may change my mind about it in the future, right? So there's very clear things that are obvious. Like if something's broken, we talk about why it's broken, right? But when we start getting into anything that involves morals or ethics or principles or fundamentals, then that's where I try to be extremely careful. And fundamentally, I think the idea of loyal miners isn't necessarily good for a blockchain. I don't think that community is good for okay, so I got to be extremely careful here. Building an identity around a cryptocurrency that you mine or participate in is extremely dangerous for multiple reasons. First, it means you can be blinded and miss something that is clearly obvious, like the fact that the chain's going to break if too much hash rate goes on and comes off of it, or that the blockchain will break and go down for hours at a time, like in the case of Solana. And then you're just, I think that it's a dangerous position to take. I think that your job, especially as a miner, is to be as objective and unbiased as possible and consider the incentive structure and the viability of the network as a whole. So if you are a loyal miner, it's not that it's like you're a loyal miner, I have a problem with that necessarily. It's if you have a biased opinion that blinds you to the fact that maybe you're doing something that is harmful towards yourself. Does that make sense? I think that's the best way I can articulate it right now. I'm still working on how we work that out. Yeah, Ted Bark says, so crypto shouldn't be modeled on the same basis as beer brand loyalty. And that's what it has been, right? Like everybody's branded themselves with their cryptocurrency. Oh, I'm Erg. Oh, I'm ETC. Oh, I'm Raven. Oh, I'm whatever, right? And it's like, it's just like, I already don't like gross consumerism as it is. And to me, it feels like what crypto has turned into is just a copy of like gross materialism, but in like an odd way where you just own like some digital currency that you tout as like the best thing since sliced cheese, I don't know. It's very weird. Detroit Irish says that's something you can get a hold of Arctic, become a distributor, and sell the other GPU parts on your Shopify. I could. Beerly says, I wonder if Ergo plus Caspa mining will be profitable by the end of this year. I'm still thinking we're 6 months out from September 15th. So October, November, December, January, February, I would assume around March. That will also line up pretty good with the end of the, kind of the elections, the end of that quarter, right? The end of Q1. So really by March, we're going to know if shit's going to hit the fan or if it's going to be good. Does that make sense? I don't have the Shopify stood up right now, Racco. Technically, it is pointed to shop.sonofatech.com. The DNS record is there, but you won't get the shop won't come up right now. But it'll be at shop.sonofatech.com. We used to have it, and we're standing it up again. But this week I ended up being a lot more busier than I thought. Matt Wall says that's Sonofatech a little behind. How well did Sonic Cleaner end up working? It worked really well on the one GPU I tested it on. I haven't really got out there and started like cleaning everything yet. I keep running into just a lot of stuff. Keep running into a lot of stuff. JKK says, that's Sonofatech. Have you noticed the 10 terahash drop right after ErgDiff update? Looks like someone was renting it to boost the network. That's interesting because it happened after. But do you think they're doing that just to speed it up to the next epoch and drop it down to 4P? We did notice it. We're keeping an eye on it. I don't know if it's a farm or if it's NiceHash or what. Boy, Matthew asks again, any thoughts about when we're going to be seeing mining be profitable or recover to break even? Like I said, 6 months. March 15th is the day that I'm going to put on that. So it's not financial advice, but if you guys want to mark a date and say when Sonofatech said, March 15th. Now, to be fair, right? Like, March 15th will be, like I said, at the end of Q1 2022 or 2023. We will have just gotten through midterm elections with everybody getting kind of settled into their new positions in the United States government. And I think that will have a huge impact on the way the markets observe or are observed, and they will respond accordingly. They could respond extremely positively or extremely negatively based on that, and as well as how much the interest rate hikes go up. I do think that we're going into a deeper recession, possibly kind of depression, personally. I hope I'm wrong. I'm also not an expert in it. But, if that happens, then the question becomes, obviously, is cryptocurrency actually going to help the individual as far as sovereignty and financial freedom goes? Or is it just going to follow the rest of the markets? I could tie this back into the gross consumerism of cryptocurrencies and the idea of tying yourself or being a fanboy of a particular cryptocurrency. Meaning that because the attitude surrounding cryptocurrency is a lot more like a stock or an investment in your favorite company like AMD or Intel, as opposed to approaching it like a tool as you would a commodity, that it probably will follow the stock markets more, at least all of the crypto coins that are coins at this point. So you can determine what you consider a shit coin or not a shit coin, but if it's being treated like a product, like a PepsiCo or something, then I probably, like, if that is how it surrounds it, then I start considering it to possibly be the poop coin, right? and then I have to figure out how I want to handle it. Jonathan says, will you ship to Canada? Yeah, as long as you pay. Right? Kane says, ask Summit Tech, do you think we are going to see big solo pools just riding the Ergo difficulty dips and spikes from now on? That's what I fear. This could be a dev. This could be like the Ergo team. You know, what's happening now could just be the Ergo team shooting some, shooting some hash rate over there to speed up to the next epoch. Using Ergo Foundation funds to do it. That could be it. I don't know what's happening here. Mid-G, why do you bleep the first but not the second and third shitcoin? Because the way the algorithm works, depending on how you say it and when you say it, the first time you say it, and then, look, it just seems to work. I've been testing it for a while, how far you can push it versus not push it, right? Barely says, at Summit Tech, do you think altcoins will be correlated with the economy more or more with Bitcoin for the next year? I could see a financial crisis that compares with 2000 or 2008. I think the financial crisis is technically worse than that because our rates go way back. Like it's the worst that it's ever been, right? Like as far as like we're also talking about a lot more globally. Now what they may do to prevent, I say they, the proverbial we or they, right? What they might do to as a last ditch attempt to boost the economy is, I don't know, start a war somewhere. Oh wait, that's what they did. I can't even take how ridiculously predictable all of this has been. Juan says, at Summit Tech, I'm mining from Argentina and we're paying 2.6 cents per kilowatt hour on what to mine the most profitable coin is Cero. Any opinion on that coin? No real opinion. You gotta be careful because when a lot of people move over to it, you could make a lot less. But yeah. As far as what we're going into for a financial crisis and the way the coins will respond, I don't know. I don't know if the coins correlate closer to. I think I think that it will depend on how it's regulated. If it's CFTC, I think it might it'll be an individual coin basis, right? If it's CFTC regulated, it correlates with Bitcoin. If it's SEC regulated, it correlates with stock markets. I think eventually that's how this plays out. Billy says, as I'm a deck, I think we are in for a reckoning for all the cheap free money, but the fields won't, or the feds won't have the will to keep the interest rates high to destroy bad money and back to printing money. Possibly. I don't think interest rates are going to go down until the housing market collapses mid-G. And I think the housing market will collapse. Again. Soon-ish. Not financial advice. But, what? 7-8% APR on a 30-year mortgage is unsustainable. Mr. Pixel says, at Summit Tech, I think crypto won't be widely used or adopted until some of the buyer-seller protection is adopted. Escrows are the closest thing right now. I think that's the old way of looking at things, and I think that needs to go away completely. I think regulation will be done by the individuals through some sort of DAO or something like that, right? I think that you have to decentralize that process. I think you have to decentralize the process of buyer and seller protection. ERC21R and 721R are something that are potential for doing this, by the way. Reversible transactions with judges that submit. I mean, like, it's really interesting. I think that that's a possibility. Frank Tetra says, that's Tech. So you'd say ETH kind of like the whole crypto market causing this downturn? Killed the whole... No, I don't think so. No. Also, what downturn? We've been sitting like... I don't know. Everybody feels like it crashes every day because it goes down 5% and then it goes back up 5%. We really haven't crashed since, like, Lord knows how long. Like, the price of Bitcoin and crypto in general has been extremely steady for, like, since June. Right? So, like, the price of Bitcoin has been extremely steady for, and that's June 17th, so July, August, September, October, for 4 months. It's been extremely steady for 4 months. That's not like indicative of like a huge shift in anything, right? Like, like this whole idea that, like, it's so weird that, like, every week it's like Bitcoin goes up by 5% on Thursday and everybody's happy, and it goes down by 5% on Monday, and I have the same conversation of, like, is Bitcoin crashing, when, like, in reality right now it's been pretty much exactly the same for the past 4 months, right? Which, if we compared that to that right? 6 months? Yeah. Which, if we compared that to the Dow Jones, is not the same. Right? I mean, back here in June, sure, it had the same initial dip, then this recovered, and then it crashed again. Right? So, I mean, really, if we look at this, it's not as correlated anymore as you might assume. I think we're a lot closer to it actually being a hedge against inflation than we might think. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just an idiot on the internet, guys. Then XDX says, Samatech, how a war can help an economy having to treat of a nuclear strike. A war short of nuclear has been something that... well, even including nuclear in World War II, but war has always been used to spark the economy, let's say. I have never said that war is good. What I'm saying is it's predictable what they do every time. Economy has issues in 2000. War. Economy has issues in 2008. Continue that war. Economy has issues in 2022. Start a new war. It's not me wanting more. It's observing history and what our governments do. That's all it is. Kane says that Samatech could make sense if the Ergo devs on K1 pool, as at least they are recouping some of what they are spending. That would be weird. I don't know. We'll monitor it. I'm going to head to jiu-jitsu. I didn't sleep a lot, but that doesn't matter. No days off. My hip's feeling better. My knee's feeling better. I'm going to go see if we can nail this, knock this out, boys. Oh, somebody said they wanted the SP 500, right? So SP 500 before I go. Why won't it show it? 6 months. I mean, it's kind of like it looks the same as the Dow, right? The little dip in June comes back up and recovers and then crashes back down. Whereas, like, you look at Bitcoin, it's like crashes in June, just goes sideways, right? Well, yes, proxy wars are the best way to stimulate the American economy, my good friends. And yes, I was drinking a C4, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Why did it... What happened here? Oh, just because I made it smaller. Got it. Okay. Anyways. Adios, muchachos. And muchachas.